And welcome back for game 2 of this LMS World Cup here at Chester. Here we are for Australia versus Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka are batting first. I'm joined here at the second game of the day by Rob Stevenson, who is strongly involved with LMS Australia and the LMS Global side of things. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Lee. It's wonderful to be here. Fantastic facilities here at Chester Pros and All Cricket Club, so thanks for hosting us.
It's a pleasure, and it's just starting to fill up with this being the second game of the day.
So first up here we've got Marty Henderson bowling for Australia with Dinu Rajakaruna, number 48, opening for Sri Lanka.
I'm very glad that you're with me, Rob, because your pronunciations of some of these names could be absolutely key. I'll make apologies early on. I'll be trying my best to pronounce the names as close to what they should be as possible.
It's true, there's some quite intimidating looking names on this Sri Lankan team list. None more so than Ajantha Mendis, actually. Well, much easier to pronounce his name, but the ex-international playing for Sri Lanka.
Straight away, the Australians here have maybe took a little leaf out of Darren Leach from Wales in the second innings of the Singapore game, who bowled seam up, just going hard into the wicket here.
Solid first over here from Marty Henderson. So we've got Andy Solomons, the number 2 batsman, Rajakaruna, the number 1 batsman, Dinawan Rajakaruna. Marty Henderson, Queenslander.
Beautiful part of the world there, Queensland. I'm sure the weather here, though, it's intimidating for us Brits at the moment with it being so warm. I think this will be quite a nice cool day.
Just fielding out in the deep there is the Australia captain Sam Lang. Good bit of fielding out in the deep to restrict it to 2.
That's a really good start, first over from Australia. So after watching that first game, Rob, what would you expect a good score as these obviously two major nations, cricketing nations? Are we expecting the scores to go up or stay around that 150, 160 mark?
Well, it's an interesting one, this, because both teams have exceptional bowling lineups. Very experienced, the Australia team, and then Sri Lanka, a lot of variety in their bowling lineup. I think this is, you generally say this is a 160 pitch and wicket, given the boundary lengths and the fast outfield. But that was a tight first over there from Marty. So the Aussies will be aiming to keep Sri Lanka below 150 here. Okay. And they've got quite a power hitting lineup, so they'll fancy their chances if they can keep it below 150, I'd have thought.
I know the Australian lads had a bit of a warm-up game yesterday.
They did. There were some big hits hit into the nearby houses, that's for sure.
Interesting to see the Aussies go to the left-arm spinner here early on.
It's true. This I wouldn't have expected this, to be honest. Nathan Tyrrell opening up. He's more renowned for his batting. He actually was the world number 1 ranked last man stands batsman for over 18 months up until the end of last year. So he's well known for his opening batting. He's a very useful spin bowler, but I definitely wouldn't have picked him to come on first.
Sri Lanka seem quite happy here just to, in these early stages, just knock the ball around. Probably seeing from both innings in the first game that the new ball give a little bit of help to the bowlers, and when the newness and the shine went off, it became a lot easier to bat. So happy to just knock it round at the moment.
Absolutely, and I think they trust in their ability to bat deep. We saw with the Sri Lankan team for Nora that are the current world champions. So that's a overthrow over the keeper there, a bit of poor fielding from out in the deep there by Australia.
Just a few early first game nerves there, maybe from the fielder. Just get his first touch in, settle down. As Tyrrell continues from the Ron Fleet end.
It's wide down the leg side there from Tyrrell. So as I was saying, for Nora, the Sri Lankan side, they're the current last man stands world champions. They batted so deep in Cape Town, and there are many games where they just took a little time to get their eye in and then went big. So I think that's going to be their tactics here today, Sri Lanka.
Trusty boot there from Tyrrell. Probably saved 4 there.
Absolutely, good bit of fielding there. He'll be disappointed with that wide down the leg side. He takes his cricket very seriously, Nathan Tyrrell, so he'll be looking for a tight over here just to be mentally straight.
Should be a comfortable 2 out into the deep there. Well picked up as the ball comes in.
It's Marty Henderson out there in the deep, so it's the end of the second over by Nathan Tyrrell. Another pretty decent over there.
I think both sides will be relatively happy with the start there. You know, relatively economic in this format to start for Australia, and Sri Lanka just easing into the tournament.
Absolutely. So with the Australian side, they've got the spin of Marcus North in the side today, the ex-Test player, so they've got a couple of spin options to go to. It's Marty Henderson back on to bowl the third over.
Been really impressed with Marty Henderson in this early part of this game, just how he's just, you know, getting the ball just to sit on the top of that off stump. Sometimes it's easy in T20 to go to the death side of bowling straight away and not look to, you know, challenge the batsman with, you know, the best ball that he has. But, you know, he's definitely bringing, you know, a numerous amount of dismissals into the game at the moment, you know.
Absolutely, he's vastly experienced in LMS, Marty Henderson, like true legend of the game. One of Australia's most decorated players in LMS actually, and he's taken almost 400 wickets. So that shows the an average of 20 for his wickets as well. So that just shows the experience there. And in addition to that, 13,000 runs. That's a big shot there down towards long on. Manages to clear the fielder. So early intent there from Andy Solomons. Backed himself there.
He got absolutely all of that, Rob. That was into the wind. He carried the long boundary on the corner there and hit it very, very flat as well. I think Sri Lanka probably felt that after a very solid start, being non-down, it was maybe time just to get a couple of boundaries in this power play period. It'd be interesting to see if Henderson just drops his length back a fraction now, because that was probably the fullest ball he's bowled so far.
Absolutely, he was inviting the batsman there. He would have got a bit excited with the hit there, thinking that he could have a wicket, but good power. Cleverly played there, just the late cut down to the vacant third man region. Marcus North coming around to pick up the ball. First touch of the ball in the game for the ex-international.
Just absolutely beautiful wrists here. He's looked to play the late cut. He's almost played it finer than that. Just rolled it off the bat face. Gave North absolutely no chance down at this third man area. And all of a sudden the momentum just shifts a fraction towards Sri Lanka.
Absolutely. This Andy Solomon showing his talent here. 16 off 7. Quality start from him. Another very clever shot as well. And Marcus North will come round to this one and get it in just for one. Nice flat throw there.
The one thing the Sri Lankans have done well so far, there's just not been many dot balls at all. They've made sure that they've scored off every delivery, which obviously keeps the board just ticking over, and then they add the odd boundary to it as well, and it you know, makes for a decent start.
There we go. A bit unlucky there for Marty Henderson. The inside edge goes down in a fine leg through Brodie Dwyer, the keeper. It's a bit of pressure here on the Australians with 2 4s and a 6 in this over. That was a cracking delivery there from Marty Henderson. Outside off stump, beautiful line, seamed in. Very unlucky that that wasn't chopped onto the wicket there, but if that happens in last man stand, there's not much you can do about it with only the 8 players per side. You can't really protect that region.
What will Australia's tactics be throughout this tournament? Would they be looking to bat first, or would they be looking to chase and see what the opposition put on the board?
I think they'll be looking to chase most of the tournament. They'll back themselves with the amount of experience that they've got in the lineup to be able to chase down any total. Every player in the Australian squad has an average over 50 bar 1, and all have exceptional strike rates as well, so there won't be any issues over how quickly they score their runs. You could argue that their team is potentially too attacking, in that everyone is used to that plus over 200 strike rate. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they lose 3 or 4 early wickets and they have to readjust their game to that. Getting a late cut there. Will Marcus North get around to it? No, he won't. So there you go. Andy Solomons, that's been a productive region for him so far. 2 fours down to vacant third man, and that does force a change. So Marcus North will now come around a bit closer to third man just to plug that gap.
One thing I have noticed throughout the first game and the start of the second game is just trying to get the right people into the right places. Obviously, Marcus North, extremely experienced cricketer at all formats. He's been given an awful lot of ground to cover early on here.
Absolutely. Out to deep point there, just a single. This is already a quality start here. Just over 3 overs gone and already up to 33. That's a great shot there. Quickly picked up. Again, picks the gap beautifully there. Andy Solomons, a slight readjustment with the scorecard. Solomons now moves on to 21 off just 9 balls. Rajakaruna also going well, 17 off 10 balls so far. Just onto that in a flash. Poor lines there from Nathan Tyrrell down the leg side.
I just think Tyrrell at the moment he's conceded a couple of boundaries. He's just starting to bowl a little bit quicker, a little bit flatter. I do believe, coming from that, and he can just hold the ball back a fraction.
Yeah, well, that's a good comeback there from Nathan Tyrrell.
Just give it a little bit more flight there, and all of a sudden just drop that length back a fraction and just got a little bit of purchase. Solomon's down on one knee there, trying to play quite an expansive shot into the leg side.
That's really certainly showing his intent. And then there's a great comeback here from Nathan Tyrrell. A couple of quality balls there under pressure.
I do think sometimes, Rob, it's very easy for bowlers to, go to bowling quicker and quicker. He's just shown there, the 2 balls where he's just held the ball back. He's tried to give it a few more revs. There's actually a little bit of value in actually trying to get the batsman out rather than necessarily going for, a dot ball every time.
Absolutely. And a bit of turn there as well, Lee. So, what is this? Is this normally a turning wicket here at Chester Broughton Hall?
I think what I would say is as the matches go on, there will be a little bit more purchase. I think teams with the slower bowlers later in the week probably may get a little bit more value out of it. What I'd say is it is one of those wickets where if you do put proper revs on the ball, there is some serious value.
Oh, that was out there in the deep, out towards Ziad Abbas. It's Marty Henderson back on to bowl, 5th over. I'd be interested to have another look at that one there.
I think he thought it was coming to him a little bit quicker than it was, and it just died on him at the end there. But that would have been a much needed wicket for this LMS Australia side.
So you're right, smile on Marty Henderson's face there. It would have been a cracking delivery.
So how long have the Australians been over in the country?
Most of them just arrived 2 days ago on Friday. A couple of them have been in Europe the last few weeks, but the majority just arrived on Friday. So there's 9 in the Australia squad, in addition to Marcus North. So there's 2 players sitting out the game today. The majority of them have been over here before to England, so it's not a new experience for them. The bowler now, Marty Henderson, and the wicketkeeper, Brodie Dwyer, both came over in 2013. Were bowled at the Last Man Stands World Championships there, so they've got big tournament experience, and they were at the World Championships in South Africa in last December as well. So quite a bit of experience from these 2.
It's a lovely shot just down the ground there. I don't think he's quite got all of it. That was a fantastic bit of fielding down at long off.
Excellent stuff there. So Andy Solomon's now 24 off 12 deliveries.
Very, very firm strike there, and another 6. Australia very, very muchly in need of a wicket here.
Absolutely. They're really getting some momentum going here, Sri Lanka, and with the batting that they've got to come, especially with Ajantha Mendis, the ex-international, it's very important for a couple of quick wickets, I think, rather than just the one. Bit full there from Marty. Henderson out to mid-wicket. They should be able to come back for 2 pretty easily. It may actually be more. There you go.
Absolute, Rob. It's absolutely ruthless down into that corner of the ground there. It just runs away down towards the canal. A very, very fast outfield.
There you go. So another boundary on the board. So pressure building here. Sri Lanka, well, 52 after almost 5 overs. This is a fantastic start for them. Another beautiful late cut. Marcus North will come round. Just the one there. So now 5 overs gone, score 53 for no loss. Andy Solomon's really going well here. 35 off just 15 balls, 3 4s and 2 6s. He's the danger man at this stage.
You did say, Rob, that you know, obviously Australia bat extremely deep and overly aggressive. So though the run rate is up at over 10s, I'm sure that, you know, they won't be panicking just yet.
So Lee, this bowler coming on now is someone definitely to look out for. So young Jake O'Connell, he's a guy that we think we could be hearing a lot more about in the future. He's only just 17 years old. Last year at the Australian Nationals, aged just 16, he won Player of the Tournament. There's over 1,000 teams playing last man stands in Australia now, so to win Player of the Tournament at Nationals with that amount of competition is unbelievable. So he's already scored almost 4,000 last man stands runs at an average of 68, and he's taken over 100 wickets with the ball, and he's only just turned 17. So that gives you an idea of the talent that this young lad has.
Does he? What club cricket does he play?
He plays on the south coast of New South Wales, near Wollongong, which is just about an hour south of Sydney, and he's a real young up and coming player in the cricket scene down there, and everyone's really watching him closely. He's played first grade since the age of 15 there, and he's played for his side, the Rock Lobsters, who are the national champions in last man stands in Australia. He's played for them since the age of 13, and they're a very competitive side.
Straight away, he's shown some decent skills there.
Very keen, going all the way out to mid-wicket, and they come back for 2. They're almost tight there.
I think the Australians have quickly just got to adapt to the dimensions of this field, Rob. Feel like they've just got caught out a couple of times here with the angles in the field, where they've got guys where they're managing to get 1s and 2s very, very comfortably at the moment. So hopefully that's something that they can adapt to quickly.
That's it. It's not just the pressure of those 1s and 2s, it's also the boundaries that have gone the outfield exceptionally quick after this long, glorious English summer. Score moves on to 60 after 5.4 overs.
They've got to be looking up at 180, 200 now, the Sri Lankans, at this point.
At this stage, you'd be very disappointed to not score over 180, that's for sure. Good bowling there from Jake, pulling them back a little bit.
Does he bowl with a few different variations, Rob, or does he tend just to bowl, you know, one pace? Or
well, sometimes he can get some exceptional swing. He has got good pace. He's a clever young bowler, so yeah, he'll definitely have a few variations up his sleeve. It'll be interesting to see in this big match context in front of the cameras of the LMS world how he can step up. But that was a very decent first over, I think, from young Jake O'Connell. So now we've got Marcus North coming on to bowl. So ex-Australian Test player, quality spin bowler. So
very lucky to play against Marcus North 2 years ago up at South Northumberland, where he's been the professional there for a little while.
How did you go against him there then?
Well, bit of a nightmare story really. We got off to an exceptional start, just didn't get Marcus North out, and he got a 500, which on the day just meant it was just a step too far for us. That was in the quarter-final. They went on to win it that year, but he's done very, very well up there, as you can imagine. And what I would say is what a fabulous bloke he is as well. He was fantastic. We had a number of supporters there that day, and he spent a lot of time speaking to some of the juniors that have come along with us on that coach. So,
you go, well, first ball out to deep. That's going to be a chance there coming in for the catch. And it's held then deep, well held. Ball going down to the bowler's end, chance for double play, and he gets back. So that'll be a steal there, I think. 2 extras. Pretty sure he got there and back. Well held under pressure in the deep. So Marcus North on LMS debut, his first ball gets a wicket, and that's just what Australia needed there.
Look, Australia have obviously gone to their marquee player.
So out to the deep to the captain there, Sam Lang, taking that catch. Did well, just was that a little fumble, but looks like he felt the pressure there. Quite relieved to have taken that catch. But that's just what Australia needed, and that was the danger man, Andy Solomons, who goes for 35 off 17 balls. So that was much needed wicket there, Lee.
Yeah, I think obviously bringing North into the game there, you bring these marquee players in, and going at 10 and over, it's something had to change. And straight away, North experience there. He's come over the wicket. He's just held the ball back. And Solomons has gone out to that deep mid-wicket boundary. He's just not got enough of it. And Australia make the breakthrough. So it'll be interesting now to see how Sri Lanka go about this next phase, because after such a strong start, what they don't want to be doing is giving away 2 or 3 cheap wickets. So whether they just rotate the strike for the next 2-3 overs and see where they're at after the change around at 10.
Absolutely, you'd imagine that's the way that they'll go with it now. So now we have Ajantha Mendis just coming into bat. So this international versus international, Marcus North up against Ajantha Mendis. Bit more respect there. It's interesting that Solomons didn't even want to have a look at Marcus North, just figured that he was going to hit the ex-international out the ground first ball. Mendis now the Sri Lankan captain. It's good bowling here from Marcus North. Just what Australia needed to bring themselves back into the game. So just a single down there. So Mendis was the batsman of the tournament at the Last Man Stands World Championships in December. So obviously renowned as a bowler, second best T20 bowling average of all time, Ajantha Mendis. But he's made his value felt in LMS in the batting stakes, that's for sure.
Do you think the ambassadors, the marquee players of each side, are going to have that extra bit of competition against each other?
That'll definitely come into it. You could hear some of the banter last night between Marcus North and Nick Compton about the tournament in general, and how they were also feeling the pressure because everyone expects them to go out there and dominate and be the match winners. And it's a no-win scenario for them really, because they are the ex-internationals. Everyone expects that. So if they go out and hit 50 off 22 balls, that's just what's expected. But if they fail, then it's just egg on their face. So it is a very difficult situation for them, and they're playing against and amongst very competitive young players. So it's not like anyone's going to go easy on them. So a bit of pressure on them, but a great start there from Marcus North. Wicket with his first ball in Last Man Stands. Respect shown by Ajantha Mendis, and I think this is a crucial passage of play here. Marcus will probably bowl a few overs. Ajantha Mendis, if he gets going, could put Sri Lanka well on top. So crucial period.
It's interesting that Australia have picked the Romfleet end, the far end, to start off with the wind. Obviously making it a slightly more difficult second 10. We saw with the Singapore innings, Manpreet Singh and Kurti towards the end, finding it very, very comfortable hitting downwind in the last 10 overs. So it'll be interesting to see what other bowling have we got to look forward to from the Australians.
Be interesting to see who they bring on. They got here we go. So Jake O'Connell just bowling the 8th over here. Ziad Abbas, the man fielding out in the deep there from Sydney. He's a good pace bowler, right arm pace bowler. Sam Lang, the captain, shoots them through. Another seam bowler. Brodie Dwyer behind the stumps may come out from behind the stumps, but I don't think he'll be getting a bowl today. And then there's Puri Srinivasan as well, again from Sydney. Originally, his family's from Sri Lanka, so it'd be interesting to see him coming up for his adopted nation against Sri Lanka here today. But he's a fine cricketer, Puri. He'll be the quickest of the bunch. So Jake O'Connell, 2 balls into his second over from the young 17-year-old. Stepping up to the pressure really well here. Up against the opener, Rajab Karuna. And that's just the single out to cover. Marcus North fields it in the deep. And this is a great comeback here from Australia. After 5 overs, they were looking at all sorts with Sri Lanka, over 50 runs already. But they've really pulled themselves back into this game nicely.
You bigged up O'Donnell at the start of his spell, and he's certainly not letting you down here. He's coming around the wicket as left-arm seamer, just looking to, straighten the ball, which is always a great skill as a left-arm seamer, just being able to take it fractionally away from the right-hander.
Absolutely. The maturity is astonishing, just beyond his years for a young man to just step up to the plate, keep those lines there, make the batsman work for those runs. And it's just a fantastic all-round cricketer. As I said, his stats with the bat are unbelievable as well for such a young man. And in the field, he'd probably be definitely the quickest Australian fielder out there. So he's a huge addition to this Australian side.
Just talking about the Australian field, and where would you put this Australian fielding unit?
In all honesty, I think it's probably maybe a weaker part of their game, and probably not as quick as some of the other sides that are going to be participating in this tournament. But again, with these quick outfields and the way that last man stands is, I'm not sure if that's going to come into play as much as it would if the outfields were slower and you can have to get the ball quicker. If you're going to place the ball in the gap on these pitches, then it's going to be 4 either way, I would have thought. Marcus North coming on for his second over now. And that's very well played from the opener, Rajab Karuna. Just saw the gap out there, just behind deep square. Got forward well with a lovely sweep.
I think North just over-pitched fractionally there. He's got his field set for him to be fetched out to more towards deep mid-wicket and long on. Over-pitched, and batsman's just got down beautifully on one knee and placed it in the gap. And as you mentioned, the outfield did its best, and the ball raced away.
Work, Brad.
Carefully played there from Dinawan Rajab Karuna.
Come on, boys.
Had it round, it seems, the wrong way on the TV scorecard. So now we have Rajab Karuna. So that was Mendes who played the sweep shot. Apologies to the jumper. So Marcus North here. It's a very important spell, this. I think his bowling just gives such balance to the side, puts the pressure on the opposition, and that'll just be the single out to cover again. Young Jake O'Connell picking up the ball there. So we will see Puri Srinivasan have a bowl at some point. As I say, he'll be probably the quickest of the Australian bowlers. Interesting tactics, not bowling first, but that was obviously a tactical thing. We're trying to get the spin on early. So Mendes just plays it out there for the easy single, showing Marcus North respect here. Marcus North, a very well-travelled cricketer in England. I think he's played for 6 counties, actually.
The captain here at Chester Boughton Hall is Will Owen, ex-Glamorgan. And I saw Will and Marcus having a good chat in the bar last night, catching up on some old times. Will always spoke extremely highly of Marcus and his input when he was at Glamorgan with him. So I think, look, as a franchise, I think Australia are extremely lucky to to have a marquee player like Marcus North. I think some of the lads obviously who are, you know, very, very accomplished LMS players are, you know, going to learn a lot from him in this coming week.
Absolutely, and what an experience for this young man, young 17-year-old Jake O'Connell, getting to bowl in tandem with Marcus North. Man, he's hit 5 Test centuries. What an experience for him to come here and be involved in that. That's, I think, just talked about the ex-international. That was not what you want to see out there in the deep. So first missed field of the day comes from the ex-Test player. Young Jake O'Connell won't be so happy with that, but I'm sure that he'll bite his lip.
It's amazing, even when you play against these guys who have played at such a high level, any sort of mistake like that, they still have the same level of intensity as when they were playing. I know how disappointing Marcus North will be with that, but straight away O'Connell's straight back on the money.
Well, Marcus did talk last night about how he likes a beer off the field, so I'm sure that Captain Sam Lang will be doing some sort of fining after the game after that error, because I don't think that goes unnoticed, that's for sure.
That must be a massive part of the LMS franchises around the world, the whole social element to it. Obviously it's a little bit quicker than a T20 game.
Absolutely, it's massive. LMS has really grown from being mates cricket. It's very easy to get a side together of 8 blokes. You know, 11 a side is difficult to do it outside of a club set up environment, so it does tend to lead itself to that, of groups of mates playing together and really bond closely. All these Australian guys have played so much against each other at past nationals and around Australia. They've often filled in for each other's sides when they're travelling with work. So all these guys are great friends in the team, and it's a real mix of blokes, and they've gelled really well together. So I think if Australia go well in this tournament, a lot of it will be that character off the field and the strength of Sam Lang, their skipper, who's a tremendously popular man in the LMS world.
Just seeing from O'Connell there that he's just banged one into Mendes. I don't think he was quite expecting it. It was quite nice to see one of the quicks as well, just, you know, manipulating the length. Well, that was a chance. Mendes has just tried to roll it off the face down to third man. He's it's just got just a fraction big on him here, and the keeper,
Brodie Dwyer, the keeper.
Brodie Dwyer has just gone with it. Diving attempt one-handed. We're going to watch it back on the replay.
That was...
O'Connell's generated far more pace than pretty much any bowler we've seen so far in the tournament so far. I think the keeper will be disappointed there, Rob.
The keeper will be disappointed. I think Brodie Dwyer, he's a good keeper, but that's one aspect of this Australian team. They don't have an out-and-out keeper. Brodie is generally a good bowler. He's one of the better bowlers going around in Australia. But it's testament to the amount of bowling in this Australian team that he's taken the gloves, and he'll probably share the gloves throughout the tournament with Sam Lang, the skipper. But he's a very intense cricketer, Brodie. He loves his cricket. He's vastly experienced in LMS, and you can just see from his reaction there that he's tremendously disappointed. So the 10 over mark. Halfway through the innings, Australia have done well here to pull themselves back into it. Score 83 for 1 after 10 overs. Ajantha Mendes not out on 11. Raja Karuna unbeaten on 35 off 23. This is big 10 overs. So switching ends. Marcus North coming back onto bowl. And Lee, I'm going to leave you for 10 overs and hand over to Wayne Grieve, founder of Last Man Stands, to say a few words. We'll just look at that appeal first. Big appeal there from the Australians, but umpire not interested.
North doesn't look overly impressed by that decision, but I've got a funny feeling that it may have been a fraction high. We're going to hopefully see a replay of that now.
May not have time before this next ball, but hopefully after this ball we will. So North coming in again.
And that's
a big hit there.
And that's why cricket can be so cruel. He obviously fancied that last appeal, North, and then the next ball, Mendes has just took a step down the wicket, and absolutely smashed the ball. That was a huge six, landing on the road down on Filkins Lane here. And all of a sudden the pressure just switches back onto Marcus North. He's pretty much had it his own way so far with the ball. So I'm going to welcome in Wayne Grieve now. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Lee. It's good to join you here. Did we manage to get a look at that replay yet of the LB?
We've not seen it yet, but it's clear that Sri Lanka at 1 down now have decided it's time to kick on. And North using all his experience there, just adjusting the line, dragging the length back and taking a bit of the pace off there. Still just having a small chat with the umpire, I think. I think he really fancied that LBW, Wayne.
That's a great shot. He's using his wrists there beautifully.
That there isn't it again an example of the outfield. That has gone no more than 5 or 6 yards to the right hand side of the man at deep cover, and he did not have a hope as the ball sailed across the outfield.
Yeah, the great thing about playing on a facility like this is you don't need to slog. You just need to work the ball into the gaps, and you've seen that the teams that have batted here haven't tried to, or the teams that have done well with the bat haven't tried to overhit it. They've just kept their shape. The wicket's good, the outfield's fast.
So that takes Mendes on to 18 off 14. Aran Karuna is 39 off 25 with 5 fours. Strike rate at over 150. Like I said before, this end is definitely, teams will quickly work out that this end is going to be far harder to contain. O'Connell's changed ends now. Be interesting to see how quickly he adapts.
What sort of length do you think the bowlers with a bowler like O'Connell would be wanting to bowl? A bit back of a length, not too full?
I think he'd be pretty happy with the length he has been bowling. He's been bowling hard into the wicket, top of the stumps. He's not really giving them the chance to get under the ball. Really wants them similar to that ball there. He just wants them hitting it square of the wicket. Sri Lanka just putting the outfielder in a little bit of pressure there. Soul destroying for a bowler, then he's executed his plan perfectly. That should have been nothing more than a single, and they've turned it into a 2, and Sri Lanka close in on the 100 in this 12th over.
Just want to have a shout out to all the viewers in Australia. We know a lot of people are up there late at night Sunday evening watching this game. You can see Justin Isaacs has just joined us. Justin Isaacs is involved in LMS Parramatta. Justin, I hope you're enjoying the game.
I was saying before to Bjorn, Wayne, I said, I was here last night for the opening ceremony. It was a fantastic blend of colour, all the different flags and blazers and whatnot. Must have been a fantastic evening for yourself.
Yeah, it was really a special moment, and it was great to see guys like Marcus North and Nick Compton being so humble. Whoa, I think that's a slow ball gone wrong there.
At this phase, though, at 99 for 1, the Australian bowlers are going to start having to use some of the variations, Wayne, because I think Sri Lanka are going to start coming extremely hard now.
Yeah, it was worth a try, just didn't execute there.
So for you as founder of LMS, seeing that opening ceremony come together and seeing so many of the best players in the world at this format, must have been fantastic. Must have been some great stories in the bar last night.
Oh, there were some great stories, and one of the highlights was Marcus North in the question and answer session. He said this is his World Cup. He didn't play World Cup for Australia, but he said he was very, very proud to be part of this occasion. which I think went down very well with all the other players in the room. It's good to see a guy that's been there, done that at test level, and coming back to his roots of Australia and showing that he wants to be part of a winning team for Australia.
Well, that takes the end of Jake O'Connell's 4 overs for 20 runs. I think on this ground, on this pitch, I think that's a fantastic effort, especially after the start Sri Lanka got. After 12 overs, LMS Sri Lanka are 101 for 1, and that brings a change of the bowling.
That's Srinivas.
So Rob was telling me that some of these Australian lads have got some, superb strike rates. He seems to have a very, very aggressive batting lineup. So what sort of score do you think Sri Lanka would have to post to really put these Australians under pressure?
I think 180 is par. I think over 180 Sri Lanka will feel that they might have their noses slightly in front. I think under 180, I think Australia will feel they've had the better first half.
I think Mendes here, Wayne, will be looking to kick on. He's 24 off 19. A lot of wickets in the hutch here. As he absolutely blazes one through back with a point there. It's fantastic wrists. He's just opened his hands beautifully. Has just sailed away. Just at that last moment for any young players watching, just manipulated his wrists just to ensure they didn't go out to the field or out in the deep.
There's an interesting passage of play that will be coming up probably around the 14-15 over. Both batsmen fairly close to retiring. Another great shot. That's 4 more. Showing his experience and class there.
There's absolutely no leeway, Wayne, down towards the canal down there. I know you've had the pleasure with your Port Sunlight team playing at Chester a few times. I know that you took the scalp at Chester earlier in the Liverpool Echo competition earlier in the year. There's very, very little margin for error on this outfield.
Yeah, the one thing I won't do playing here is bowl myself. You want to make sure your bowling figures are looked after by avoiding bowling. A good wicket, good outfield. Going to push for 2. There should be 2. It's a good over.
It's fair to say I think Australia have gone quite top heavy here without taking a wicket. They've used some of their main bowlers early on. It'd be interesting to see what the backup bowling for Australia is like.
Agreed. I think, but on the same token, it's going to be interesting to see the number 4 and 5 batsmen Sri Lanka. Want to see what depth they've got in the hut. The thing about LMS is there's a good partnership going here, but at some point they're either going to get out or they're going to have to retire, and Australia might try and squeeze the game with number 4 and 5. So we'll have to see the depth in both teams. Yeah. Just a shout out to Lyden Gibbons, LMS legend, who's just tuned in watching the footage.
Change of bowling at this end, Wayne. This is Ida Abbas. Straight away, he's obviously quite a daunting figure coming in there, and he's gone straight into the block hole now. Bit of a change of length now from Australia towards these latter overs. Going more into the block hole there. Am I right in saying, Wayne, that Sri Lanka currently have the world champion side in LMS?
Yeah, a team called Venora. They came out to Cape Town. Very, very strong side. They were led by Ajanta Mendes. Well, that's a wide.
How many of that side have made it into the Sri Lankan national side here?
I think it's 3 of them. I'll stand to be correct. I think there's 3 of them.
So they have got experience, at this level?
Definitely, and they tend to bat around Ajanta.
I do think here at Chester that the teams that use some of these medium pace bowlers, if you've got just a little bit of variation, that it could be really quite effective.
He's bowling a lot of cutters here. This is a good start here. So I think the captain's got to be on the same track as the bowler. If he's going to bowl slower cutters, he probably doesn't need a third man as fine as it's been previously. Could probably get him a bit squarer, but the bowler's got to then execute and not get too wide and too quick.
He looks like he's trying to protect that corner of the ground. There was a couple of boundaries down there a couple of overs ago, but like you said, Wayne, you know, he's definitely at third man, at least 10 yards too deep there.
Especially if he's bowling cuts, he's almost bowling off spinners just off a long run up.
How often do you see LMS sides in these latter overs, you know, maybe bring one guy into the ring to maybe block off easy single?
It depends on obviously the situation, the bowler, who's on strike. I think it's only really worth doing it if one of the batsmen you feel you can get a few dot balls in against him. But if both batsmen are set, it's not really a tactic used too often. Again, depends on the wicket. If the wickets stop in a bit. I remember on the Gold Coast in Australia, our first ever World Champs, there was one game where I think it was a quarter-final game, where the team that actually went on to win the tournament, they were 60 all out, and they defended that game. The wicket was like a fifth over test match. There's cracks in the wicket, and they got all their fielders up. So I think on a road like this, it's very hard to try and set a fielder where you've got a fielders up. I think you're always better off getting all the guys back, protecting the boundary. But you saw the Singapore side start well. They used the power play and they got a slip in early doors. So for the first 4 overs, definitely. But after that, I think you've got to just try and defend the boundaries. Huh?
So Australia here are continuing.
Oh, unlucky. Great shot down the ground.
Just hit with some real force there. The fielder tried his best to stop it, but just couldn't get his body behind it. One thing about last man stands, Wayne, it stands out that, you know, it's great to see, you know, all the fielders are in play all the time, and that's maybe something where at 11-a-side cricket, you know, you maybe can hide one or two. There's no hiding place out here at the moment. Yeah,
I think if you talk about the skills of the game, the one area, if you play club cricket, that you can really improve your game is in your fielding. You'll see the South African side; they're very, very good in the field. They've all got strong arms, and sometimes that can be the difference. Oh, pressure. Umpire's under pressure. What's your call, Lily? He did hit the ground, definitely. It's just whether you got a inside edge. I think we're going to get the snickometer on, yeah?
I think as a batsman, judging by his body language, I'm saying that he didn't fancy it, but just watching the replay, there does definitely seem like a bit of a deviation down the leg side. The wicket keeper seems relatively confident, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The umpire makes the decision and he's got to go. Yeah,
unfortunately, the hot spot isn't in play today. Otherwise, we would definitely have used it there.
Just in the background there, Wayne, I can see just a banner for the last man stand shop. What sort of stuff sold there?
One of the features of last man stands is all the teams wear coloured clothing. You know, it's fun cricket, so we don't wear whites, and that's predominantly what's sold in the shop. Teams can go on when they register to sign up for a league. They go on and they order their team uniform.
So they can design them, can they?
Yeah, well, we've got set designs, but they can add their logos and they can add sponsor logo. They add their numbers. There's some player names that we have to vet at times, and some team names that are creative. But yeah, that's part of the fun of the brand. You start a team, you create a name, and you create a team outfit and a team logo, and that's all done through the shop.
And that's, you know, I think that's got to be part of the one of the novelties of any format is the changes and the things you can do, and obviously it's a step closer to playing at the highest level as well. You know, being able to have your name on the back of your shirt. It's just watching that replay again, Wayne. I think that's a fantastic decision by the umpire. You know, I take your point that he's obviously hit the ground, but there's quite a big deviation after the bat there. So fair play to the umpire. I'm sure he'll be checking that back later to see if he's got it right.
I think if you're supporting Australia, that's out. If you're supporting Sri Lanka, you probably think otherwise. What are the viewers out there? We know a lot of people viewing there. Please give us your thoughts on that dismissal.
What I'd say is just in the background here, Australia have done very well to just claw this back a fraction at 125 for 2. Obviously, you know, with Mendes out as well, Dewan very, very close to retiring. It's something that was mentioned earlier on. You know, how deep does the Sri Lankan batting lineup go? And
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the side, so we'll see. We'll get a glance of that in the next few overs now. How deep they can go.
I think that'll be 2. That. Would have been very close to a run out. The bowler there, obviously turning around to appeal, then having to react quite quickly to the fact that there was no one going to reach it out from in the deep.
Daniel Teddy Jones, he reckons that's out. Dean Curry out all day.
I think there's a few of the umpire's family on this feed, Wayne. Very, very quick over the ground, Marty Henderson.
Mark says not out.
Who would you rather be at the moment, Wayne? Would you rather be the Australians or the Sri Lankans?
I think I'm going to sit on the fence. It's evenly poised. I think the next 5 overs I'll tell you, I'll give you an answer. I still say that 180 is par, so I think they're on track for 180 here. But the key period is the batsman's got to retire soon, so we'll have a look once Roger Kurana retires. We'll have to reassess. We'll have to look, but the new batsman's not going to be easy coming and hitting it from the outset. So obviously he can come back in when all the wickets fall, but only 2 down so far. The
left-hander Basaneka has come in, and he's just pushed that one out to deep cover. Been really impressed here by Abbas. I think he's came on at a very, very difficult time, bowling from the trickier end here. He's just mixed his pace up. He's obviously got height on his side here, just getting a couple to tail in, and we've already spoken about his cutter.
I think Sam Lang, the Australian captain, is going to be delighted with this spell. He's obviously the 6th bowler, so they probably thought they're going to maybe try and share the 5th bowler duty, but now he might actually get a few more overs. He's only gone for 9 in his he's actually gone for 8 in his 2 overs, so that's an outstanding little 2 overs from Abbas in the middle overs here. Edge in Australia probably slightly in front now in this game.
So they've still got to bowl at the death here. They've still got Nathan Tyrrell's got 2 overs left. Marty Henderson, who was expensive in his first spell, but I felt for him because, to be honest, he was very unlucky. There was a couple of edges and pieces of poor fielding that didn't really help him. You know, he may be used at the death here, but be interesting to see what the tactics are as Basaneka just pushes down the ground again for a single. One thing noticed is the new ball obviously plays a part. It was nibbling around a little bit, but does come off the bat extremely well. The ball does tend to get a little bit softer in any form of cricket.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe he might just stick to the cutters. He might not. I mean, as you say, Henderson was very unlucky, bowled well. There's a few Chinese cuts and a few heaves over mid-wicket, but I think they might just stick with the pace off for a while.
Big inside edge here from Basaneka. Fumble out in the outfield. He's come back and he's turned that into a second. There's nothing more frustrating there as a bowler. He's executed his plan, missed time shot, and A few of these Australian lads, obviously long flight, and look like a little bit of fatigue kicking in the outfield there, some heavy breaths. Boughton with 4 through mid-wicket there. He just cleared his front leg out the way beautifully there, held his shape, and just over pitched by Boughton. He's just put his hands through beautifully, found the gap. Sorry, it wasn't a bass bowling then, was it?
Srinivas. So Raja Corona, he's been in the 40s for quite a long time now, so this is definitely working in Australia's favour. He probably would have liked to have retired 2 or 3 overs earlier, which would have maybe given him a chance to come back in the latter overs, but it's unlikely from here that he will return. So number 5, 6, 7 are going to have to do a job here. So the introduction of Sam Lang. They're bowling all 7 outfielders here.
Send them off, mate, send them off.
Sam Lang, very clever cricketer. Extremely experienced last man stands player. Oh, this should be 2. Abbas was slow to react down the 3rd man there.
And that's a retirement for Douan. In your first game, you've got to be happy to retire, Wayne. That's really going to settle the nerves for the tournament.
Definitely. Strike rate decent. From an opener, you want someone to hold the fort. And it's always nice when you know you've got one in the bank.
He's gone off to a nice applause in front of the pavilion there. It does give an absolute licence, though, to some of these lads coming in now, doesn't it? Because obviously you've got this guy who's got 50 in the hutch.
Sam Lang showing his experience here. 480 caps of last man stands.
And it's fair to say the Sri Lankan batsman had a licence. He fully took that up but wasn't able to make contact with the ball there. Trying to do his best by the side there, and didn't give himself any time to get himself in.
Yeah, he's in a no-lose situation there. If he hits a boundary, he's getting the team noses ahead. If he gets out, the retired batsman's got a chance to come back in. So we're interested to see now what they've got down the order. Their top 5 look very good. Let's see what depth they've got down the back end. Yep.
I think just watching that back on the replay there, I think as he'll be disappointed he lost his shape in the shot there. Obviously looking to bat for the side, you know, given a pat on the back by his teammates. They appreciate that he's playing for the team there. But Sam Langs came on here, the skipper, and found the breakthrough straight away. So
we've got an interesting question from Lauren Gibbons. Why is he retiring from leg bars? In LMS, leg bars don't go to the batsman. It's only the wides. But Lauren, you're not watching the game closely. There's a little tickle onto the inside edge onto the pads. I know it's late there, but get a cup of coffee and watch properly there, bud.
Sri Lanka just losing the way a little bit here, Wayne. Boughton has lost his shape a couple of times here, just trying to work it into the leg side, and that looks like another single. Australia will be really happy from the well, as I say that, an overthrow, a loose throw from the Australians, but they're going to be really happy from the Sri Lanka start. Sri Lanka were going at 10 and over comfortably for the first 5 overs.
Yeah, Australia definitely had a good second half here. They've just decided to take the pace off the ball, and it's working. And I think Sam is showing some good leadership here. He's realised that pace off is the way to go. Might not work all the time, but it's working for them at the moment.
Under 160.
I just think Sri Lanka Wayne have forgot what they did so well in the first half of the innings. I know obviously they had a couple of very set batsmen and hit a few good boundaries, but they haven't moved the ball around at all in the last few overs. You know, there's been a distinct lack of, you know, pushing the field. As Basaneka hits one out towards extra cover, didn't get any of it at all. That allowed the batters to come back for two.
No, you're right, Lee. I think it's not all about trying to hit boundaries. You've just got to make sure you're getting bats and ball. There's lots of twos out here. Or you can just do that. That's a new ball. That's straight over the scoreboard. Superb shot.
Signal from the Australian fielder. That is canal bound that way. I get the impression there'll be a couple of balls that head into the sink this week, and that was a very, very firm hit there. Amazing wrists, stood up nice and tall.
He's gone again. 4 more.
And this is exactly what Sri Lanka needed. I do think that Australia will be looking in the next game to make a couple of improvements in the field. There's just been the odd misfield along the way here, as Basaneka, in the space of 2 balls, has moved on to 23 with that 6 and a 4.
Yeah, he struggled to get going in the beginning, but now he's cashing in.
And isn't it amazing, Wayne? As soon as, you know, a couple of boundaries, pressure's shifted straight back onto the bowler, and the wide materialises.
And he was the 6th bowler, so we thought he should continue, as did Sam. His first 2 overs only went for 10, and now his figures are getting a little bit hurt. That's gone again. That's 6 more. Oh no! Oh, the wind. There's a strong wind out there, isn't it?
Well, I don't think the fielder will be wanting to watch that again, Wayne. Look, from the bat, it looked every minute, every second it was going to be a 6. The fielder, it's basically almost gone straight to them, and he's completely misjudged it. It's the captain, Sam Lang. He's got to get that out of his mind, though, Wayne. He's got, you know, a big job as captain. He's probably got another over to go himself. But it is very, very tricky down there. It just slopes away with the ground.
He's normally got very safe hands. I'm surprised by that. There must be wind up there.
Also, as well, the Australians are known for taking their catches reverse hands. Obviously, being in England, having to... You're going to have to explain this to me, Wayne, because obviously that was some sort of last man standing play in the game there. There would never be a second run there in normal cricket on a Saturday. Why did they take the second run then?
To be honest, Lee, I'm a little lost for words. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I think a little bit of Australians switched off a bit there. So I think there was a genuine case of them seeing the keeper just maybe going off guard there. Sometimes, you know, the guys might try and push 2s to chance their arm and try and get the retired batsman back in. But I think in that situation, it's just a case of the keeper fumbling.
I think it was actually very clever from Basaneka. He obviously knows that he's the hot batsman at the moment, and he's trying as much as he can to score as many runs as possible.
Oh, it's a no ball, free hit.
Bad couple of minutes for the Australian captain, Sam Lang. He obviously just dropped that catch out in the deep. It's amazing how quickly cricket can change. You know, he bowled brilliantly the over before, and then all of a sudden drop catch, and then he's bowled a no ball. Would this over waist high? Is this a free hit now?
Free hit, yeah. I think it's always a free hit in the last over anyway. But
he's got a lot to push with 2 out here.
Yeah,
I'll be very surprised if he doesn't go in and out.
It's just getting a bit sloppy from the Aussies now. They got to finish strongly. That's the power play overs. If I was Sam, I'd maybe think about getting one of the fielders on the offside across to mid-wicket. Basaneka's looking leg side every ball, yeah. Maybe get him to try and hit it
Rob Stevenson on commentary before did say that out of all the three elements that Australia possessed, that the fielding was definitely the weakest suit, and it's starting to show a little bit. They've become a little bit ragged in these last couple of overs, and Sri Lanka is starting to cash in.
That's 4 more to the leg side. I definitely think a power play is in order here. I need to get a 4-2 field here.
So Marty Henderson, obviously an experienced campaigner, and just ran in and just wanted a little bit of advice to Sam Lang. Be interesting to see what.
He's changed the line. That's a better area. That's well fielded from Marty. That should be out. Ooh. Just needed to throw it over the stumps. That would have been well out.
Very, very selfish, unselfish running there from Mr. Panther. Coming back for that second run, you know, if the bowler collects it, he's out. But he knows that he needs to get Basaneka back on strike.
That's amazing when you push the fielder how often you can actually come back for 2s. Got to run that first one hard in any form of the game, but more so in LMS. Only 100 balls in the game.
It is a skill as well, Wayne, that in training people don't tend to practice collecting the ball when it's fizzed in from the boundary. It's something that you normally throw into a keeper, aren't you? So
yeah, that's right.
I'd imagine, you know, it is a skill. It's amazing how many times the bowler or a fielder fumbles, you know, on collection.
Jamie Dillon is asked, what is a power play? If you watch this ball. So Sam's struggling in the last over. The power play is the first 4 overs of the game. You're allowed to set a 4-2 field, and then all the other overs it has to be 3-3. If you go 4-2, you can move back to 3-3. And then the last 2 overs of the innings, the same. You can set a 4-2 field.
Shot. That is a very, very good shot, Wayne. That's 6 down the ground. We said before, was there the depth in the Sri Lankan batting, and Basaneka, after a slowish start, has really started to turn the style on here. Just clearing that front leg out the way, timing it beautifully down the ground. Lang under all sorts of pressure here. That wide ball's going to really hurt him, and then all of a sudden, Basaneka, you look up and he's on 45.
Yeah, this has been a very, very good knock. It looked like the Aussies were getting their noses in front, and now it's back an even game.
I think he's a little bit unlucky there, Lang. I think it was more chance of being a no ball than a wide. But Basaneka has made it very clear to his batting partner he is not going to run, and he is going to face the remaining balls of this innings.
Yeah, I see. In the last over, there's no penalty balls. You have to complete 5 legitimate balls. That should be out. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. Is it at the end of the innings? He hasn't given him out. We'll just see what happened there. Looks like his glove that always hit his forearm. They've run through and hasn't given him out.
I'll be very surprised, Wayne, if that hasn't come off the glove.
Have a look from this angle. That looks like a glove to me, Lee.
And I think it may even be. Is this a double? It
No,
may be a double play.
No, well, they have to be double plays the other end. But I think what they didn't really bother about the wicket. He sacrificed his wicket there. I don't think he's too worried about his batting average. It was given out, so no more chance to get any runs.
If Sri Lanka get over the line in this game, Wayne, I think we may look back at that cameo from Basaneka as potentially a match-winning innings, because they definitely had 3 or 4 overs where Australia pulled it right back, and I think at one point probably would have been very happy with 165. They've ended up with 182, and the Sri Lankans will definitely be the much happier of the two sides after that little momentum shift at the end of the innings.
Yeah, if we're talking momentum, definitely. I think, as you said, it looked like it's going to be about a 165 score with 2-3 overs to go, but we also did say 180's par. You know what a good track this is, Lee, and you know how quick this outfield is. So it just takes 1 or 2 good partnerships, and I think Australia will feel they can do this. They bat all the way down. They've got some big hitters. A Bass He's probably the biggest hitter in this tournament. He's been bench pressing 200 kilograms in the gym before he arrived here. So I think that the chairman's house could be in a bit of trouble here.
Well, speaking to some of our members yesterday, I know some of the Australian lads took part in a practice match, and I think they stopped some of the flights over Chester because there was some serious sixes being hit into the local housing estate. So I'm excited to see what the Australian batting's got to offer, to be honest, because looking at some of these strike rates, they're absolutely outrageous. So
yeah, I think they start up front with Brodie Dwyer. He's a correct player. He's not renowned for his strike rate. He plays correctly, elegant left-hand bat, and I'm be interesting to see what number they bat Marcus North. I don't know if we've got any inside information on what number he's batted, but I presume he'll be opening, so there should be 2 left-handers opening, and then they've got the firepower down the order.
Just looking at the scorecard, Wayne, you know, surely some of these other sides in the group maybe having a little look at Sri Lanka there and seeing that obviously, you know, that they do look like they've got a lot of batting in that top 4. I do think that Dunawan, who got 51 off 37, he batted absolutely beautifully up to about 40, 45, and as you mentioned, just took his foot off the pedal a little bit. And obviously, I don't think Mendes was overly happy with his decision. We've had a good chat on Facebook Live there. We're still not sure. Quite a lot of people saying it was out. I'm going to say the umpire was right as well. But you know, that innings from Basanaker at the end, 46 off 22, that's really just, you know, put the game back in the balance there. I think if they would have ended up on 160, they would have felt not only that they'd left a lot of runs out there, but I think Australia would have felt in quite a comfortable position to go out there and knock it off.
Definitely, and if we look at the bowling figures, the pick of the bowlers was young Jake O'Connell, only 17. What are your thoughts on Jake?
I was super impressed with Jake. I know Rob, before he even bowled a ball, Rob said what a talent this lad was. I'll be honest with you, I'll definitely be walking around to have a little chat with him, see if he fancies a season over in England. I'm sure you'll probably be doing the same, Grievo. But I thought he bowled well. He bowled, you know, the thing that impressed me is that the fact that he could bowl 2 different lengths with control. It was nice to see him bowl a bumper at Mendes. Thought that showed that he had a little bit about him, and also as well there was a couple of pieces of sloppy fielding off his bowling, and the next ball, his maturity just to come back and be able to deal with that, I just thought was outstanding. So you know, I'm excited. Obviously, you know, his record in LMS, even for his age, is something else, and I hear that he'd obviously won the Player of the Tournament as well. Yeah, in the Australian National Champs, and he's also got a good eye when he's batting. He can hit a long ball. So, well, you're certainly selling him to me, Wayne, so I'll definitely be having a pot around to see if he fancies a season over in England. I'm sure you'll secure him ahead of us. You've got a much bigger wage bill than we do. We can maybe offer him a free Coke after every game. It's just a nice place to live, Wayne. Chester. Port Sunlight has its own charms. And Marty Henderson, figures will be, I feel, probably a bit unlucky with that. 3 overs for 35. He bowled in good areas up front, very good first over, and then he had a bit of, he'd consider himself slightly unlucky. Marcus North bowled well, quite tidy, only going for 26 of his 3. Are you surprised that Marcus North didn't bowl his final over there, Wayne? I thought they might have used his experience. Maybe Sam might look back at last over. He could have maybe gone to one of his more senior bowlers. But Sam's a good bowler in his own right. I just think maybe, as you say, that catch seemed to disturb him a bit, and I think he took that into that last over. But he's a good leader of men, and I'm sure he'll be putting that behind him, and he's going to get the troops focused on this run chase. So who have we got to look forward to in the Australian batting? Obviously, take Marcus North aside. Obviously, I know my co-commentator Rob before did mention that, you know, some of these marquee players are in kind of a no-win situation at times, because we are expecting to see amazing things from them. But I think, you know, sometimes you've got to remember what a good standard the non-marquee players are. That's right. And, you know, these guys are, you know, top level players within this format, and you know, it's going to make it difficult for some of these guys to come in and just smash it from ball 1. That's right. Well, Nathan Tyrrell, he's also another left-hander.
he hits the ball very hard, and he's always been in the top 10 of our batting rankings. He's a consistent player, so he's quite an aggressive player. I would have thought if Marcus North wasn't playing, it would have been Nathan Tyrrell and Dwyer opening. It might be Marcus North now and Dwyer, but then they've got obviously Marty. Henderson will come in the middle to later stages of the innings. He always backs himself. Ziad Abbas, we've talked about what a long ball he hits. Sam Lang, extremely good player. He can play both ways. He can work the ball around, but he also can clear the ropes when he needs to. Jake O'Connell, good eye, another left-hander. So I think Australia will feel that they're always in the game. We're going to be taking a break now. We'll be joining you shortly.
So we're just about to start the second innings here of the Australia-Sri Lanka game. 183 the target for Australia. They'll be disappointed to be chasing such a high score. A few little mistakes in the field and a few chances that weren't taken. But as Wayne was saying just before me, there's a lot of power hitting in this Australian lineup. So they're certainly not going to. I'd say that pretty much it's going to be either Australia bowled out or they're going to chase down this target here with the kind of players they've got on the side. The only player that does bat a bit differently is Brodie Dwyer, who's opening the batting for Australia, left-hander. So he's the more orthodox player that they'll probably be looking to play the anchor role. And then look for the big hitting of Ziad Abbas, Sam Lang, Puri Srinivasan, Nathan Tyrrell. There's some devastating hitting power in this Australian side. So Marcus North will not open. Puri Srinivasan, surprise opener. But he's a very talented player. The Australian Nationals in 2016, he took out both the batting and the bowling rankings awards. He didn't just take out those rankings, he absolutely decimated all the opposition. So they've obviously seen a bit of Puri in the nets and decided that he's the one to open. But first up, we've got Brodie Dwyer, the left-hander, who had a mixed day behind the stumps. Took a good one down the leg side, but then let one go in the first innings that he was obviously very disappointed with.
So Rob, what's your thoughts here? Do you think this is a change in game plan where they've sent Srinivas in, or do you think he was always down to open?
I'm surprised by it, to be honest, just given the number of other players in the lineup that I would have thought Nathan Tyrrell would be a punt for up the order. Same with Marcus North as the ex-international. So first ball here to Brodie. Nice off his legs, and they've run the first one hard, so they'll come back easily for two there, the Australians. So that's good running early on there. Clever shot to play first up.
Well, that potentially there, what we've just seen there, could be the reason. He looks like he's very quick between the wickets, so it might complement Brodie Dwyer here.
I'd agree with you there, Wayne. Just the place between the wickets there was fantastic.
They're pushing hard again.
To the offside. They're just taking the single.
So good intensity. Looking to put the pressure on the fielders. This should be a very, very enjoyable next 20 overs.
So we have Andy Solomons opening the bowling here for Sri Lanka. So Solomons, who opened the batting exceptionally quickly, 35 off 17 balls before Marcus North took a wicket with his first ball in last man stands. Huge wicket there for Australia at the time in that game. Australia just let Sri Lanka get off the hook in the last few overs. Things became a bit messy in the field. Definitely chasing about 20 runs more than they would have expected to be chasing at one point, so that'll be disappointing. So Puri's first ball just worked off his legs there, just for a single. No, they're going back for 2 though. So relatively tight first over here from Andy Solomons, and we have a change in the commentary box. Welcome
we sure
to
do.
Nick Compton.
Thanks for having me in the old last man stands box here. Some unbelievable cricket on show, I have to say. Just come here this morning and just seen the Sri Lankans have a bat, and my word, they hit some big blows.
Absolutely, there's some serious depth in that Sri Lankan batting lineup. All the top 4 showed their talent there. Ajantha Mendis potentially lucky to survive a LBW appeal off Marcus
Yeah, that
North.
looked absolutely plumb. I'm just looking at Ajantha here. He's smiling at me quietly. Ajantha, you were plumb there. LBW.
The laugh from Ajantha Mendis says it all with regards to that LBW there.
You know, exactly. Umpires are there to make the decision.
So Nick, you looking at some of the talent on display, are you a bit more worried about your part in this tournament now?
Absolutely. I've been worried for a while. I think there's some serious players here, and I'm just realising that I'm the amateur in this tournament. There's some good cricketers on show. It's obviously a very fast-paced game. You know, you've got to hit the ground running and get those 2s and push hard. So it's all action, which is fantastic. I think it's a great spectacle, and I think some of the players here, though, you know, are good. I mean, I played against a couple of them because I played in the first class cricket in Sri Lanka this year. So it's nice to bump into a couple of them who I played against.
So whereabouts were you playing over in Sri Lanka then?
I was at Ports Authority, which is one of the first class teams there, and yeah, absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, can't speak more highly of Sri Lanka as a country and as a place to visit, and also the cricket was brilliant as well.
So we've got 3 players in the Sri Lankan lineup today from the Army Cricket Club. So what do you know about that cricket club? Just a slight glitch with one of the microphones here, so we'll just carry on. Yeah, so Nick, I was saying with the 3 players today in the Sri Lankan lineup from Army Cricket Club, what do you know about that?
Yeah, we played against the Army. A good side, probably about half an hour inland from Colombo. But a lot of the first class teams are very, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of Army guys in the Army team. It's just one of the names. So the names are a bit strange. They're kind of a bit misleading. But yeah, again, a very good team. A lot of good first class players over there. A lot of very good cricketers.
It's Marasinghe bowling the second over here. Solid start here from Australia, if not spectacular so far. So Nick, you've got a strike rate of about 270 I hear in last man stands.
Yeah, it's a shame I have to play because I don't think it's going to get much better from here, to be honest. I'd be quite happy to hold on to that record. Aussies have started quite well here. 16 for no loss off 1.2 overs. A little nudge down to third man. A bit of a misfield, but they'll only get 1. Yeah, it's great to have everyone in on the live feed. Love to hear more thoughts from everyone who's tuned in. Please send us your thoughts or any questions. Really is fantastic here in Chester.
It's a beautiful location here, and there's been first class cricket hosted here at Chester Broughton Hall as well. It's a wonderful facility. So Puri Srinivasan there takes off quickly, won't come back for 2, moves on to 8 off 5 balls. An interesting story behind Puri and his team in Australia actually. So he was player of the tournament in 2016 at the Australian Nationals, but his side, Ocean 12, is the side that a lot of you may have heard about over the last few years. So a team of guys that actually were asylum seekers from Sri Lanka, and not Puri himself, but the rest of the squad were in detention centres in Australia, and when they managed to get self-protection visas, they managed to get funding and formed a cricket team and have ended up becoming the Last Man Stands Australia champions. So quite an incredible story.
It's a great story.
So Puri was one of the players that they brought in as a mentor player for them. So a Sri Lankan that wasn't an asylum seeker, but just helped them go about their business and get to know the other teams well. So fantastic story there. Now he's playing here against the country of his origins, for his adopted country, Australia. So Brodie Dwyer, who, as we were saying, is normally the more orthodox player in the Aussie lineup, is actually going very well so far. 14 off 6 balls. They would have been expecting Puri to be the man going big early, and he'll know that's his role here, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays this ball.
Big thanks to Dane, who's just provided some stats from Sunshine Coast in Brisbane. Brodie Dwyer, 8,053 runs at average of 55.5, strike rate of 167.8. So pretty impressive stats there. Thanks, Dane. Great contribution there, mate. Keep up the good work, and love to hear more from you guys out there. The more comments, the better.
Absolutely. Dane Rakoski, a renowned man through Last Man Stand scenes for his statistical knowledge.
A cracking shot there from Srinivasan, who's just gone down on one knee and swept a full toss. It's actually tactically quite an interesting format, because you still got long enough where you've got to kind of build an innings, but you've got to sort of pick your bowlers and pick your time. Amidst the odd boundary, you've really got to run hard, haven't you? And some of the best players here really place the ball very well.
Absolutely.
A little bit of a fielding change there. He's coming a bit squarer down a fine leg. He's gone big. It's man under it. Oh, he slipped and fallen, and it's gone for 4. He's had a stinker at mid-off there. Absolute stinker. Obviously not got the right footwear on. Dry as a bone here in Chester, and he's slipped on his backside, and the bowler is absolutely furious here. He's not quite got hold of that. Kind of scooped it to mid-off. Probably would have been a routine catch, but he's on the floor, and he's got a bit of a smile on his face. That's all he can do.
It's a real let-off there for the Aussies, and, well, Puri will be relieved with that. They need a bit of luck, these Australians, if they're going to chase down these runs.
Got another game over in on field number 2. New Zealand are playing, and looks like there's fireworks over there.
If you want to follow any of these scores, you can just go to lastmanstands.com. There's a live scores link there, lastmanstands.com/live-scores. You can follow all the games happening around the world, but the 2 games happening here at the World Series at the moment. The one that we're watching, well, you can see in the background there, New Zealand, their debut in the World Series. So, coming on for the 4th over.
31 for no loss after 3 overs. Pretty good comeback here from Australia. Chasing, obviously, a mammoth 183. Wicket looks like it's pretty good. A little bit of turn here and there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when the spinners come on. Maybe slow the run rate up a bit. Sri Lanka really in need of a wicket here.
Absolutely.
See Jantha Mendes at mid-off licking his lips, waiting for a bowl.
So this is Raja Karuna, who's come on to bowl, the other opening batsman. He actually retired, got a 51 off 37 balls to really set the tone for the Sri Lankan innings.
Just had a question asking what prize does the winning team get, and it's £1,000 to charity. I'll update you with what charity that is, but
I believe they get a choice, charity their choice in their country that they come from. So.
That's great news.
So it's a tight start here by Dinawan Rajakaruna.
Yeah, just taking a bit of pace off the ball here. It probably seems like the way to go. More pace, I always say, breeds more runs, but if you do take the pace off, you've got to be good at it, and these Sri Lankans know how to bowl in these sort of conditions, particularly having grown up on these sort of flat wickets in Sri Lanka. So cracking shot there from Dwyer, who's absolutely smashed this in front of square for 4. That's a long way in front of square. Not that short, but not bowling express pace here. So he's really picked up on that, and the ball's just sat up. Just seems a little bit slow now. A few games have been played on this wicket, so quite easy to sort of just get a bit of time in the middle, and suddenly you start feeling the pace.
Absolutely, it'll be interesting to see how the how these dry conditions and so much cricket being played on this square affect things later in the tournament. Spinners coming into play. There's obviously a lot of spinners in this Sri Lankan lineup, not least Ajantha Mendis, second best T20 bowling international average of all time.
Yeah, not bad, is it? Just pull on one of the greatest T20 bowlers of all time. Come and have a bowl, sir.
So here we do have Ajantha Mendis coming on to bowl, so this will be a crucial period of the game here, I feel.
Yeah, 36 after 4 overs. It's kind of in balance a little bit, but as we saw with the Sri Lankans when they batted, they got off to a rollicking start, but you know, just through the middle it seems to slow up a little bit. You can expect that. Slower bowlers come on, ball gets a bit older, but kind of in the balance here. I think Sri Lanka could do with a wicket.
See how that warm-up ball affects Mendis' confidence. He just did a practice bowl down to long on and hurled the ball off the field, so I'm not sure what that's going to do for his confidence, but let's see how the first ball comes out here for Mendis. Tyrrell first up, and a bit of pressure building here on the Australians. They've actually had 6 dot balls in the last 8 deliveries, so it's definitely not what they would have been looking for at this stage, especially with the amount of hitting down the order. But he's got hold of that, Brodie Dwyer.
That's 4, I think. Just short of the boundary in the slot, and he's heaved that one over mid-wicket.
So that's twice now in quick succession that Brodie's given himself a bit of room and gone for that vacant mid-wicket region. It's just that gap between mid-wicket and long on that he's managed to pierce twice in a row now, so that's promising for Australia, and that'll take the pressure off him significantly.
Yeah, it's also the balls in between though. You've got to kind of make sure you keep rotating the strike. If you're not hitting a maximum or a 4, you keep the scoreboard ticking. Otherwise, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. But if you hit something like that every second ball, good enough.
So he's going very well now. 23 off 13 deliveries so far for Dwyer. Way outside off stump there, but legal delivery.
It looked a little bit wide there, I have to say. But we move on.
There you go, he's giving himself room there again. Has he found the gap? No. Good fielding in the deep by Radikaruna. So 2 runs for the Aussies there. Srinivasan down the non-striker's end now will be knowing his role. When he's next on strike, I think we'll really see him have a go. Another dot ball there. You've got to eliminate a few of these dot balls, the Australians, and just keep things ticking. When you're chasing 9 and over, the run rate quickly adds up. The current situation is 141 runs are required from 75 deliveries. That's a very decent first over from Ajantha Mendis there. 6 runs off it, showing his class. So Nick, what time are you playing your match today then?
Match is at 6, I think, 6 p.m. So we've got a bit of a day here, but lots to do. Lots of kids down at the ground, so if you're in the area, come down. Good food, good beer, and some great cricket.
Absolutely, it's a great venue to come down to, and cracking English summer weather. There we go, so Puri has decided that he needs to have a go now. Just picks out the fielder in the deep down at mid-wicket, so only a single there. But I really think that we're going to see Puri go for it now. So this is Raja Karuna bowling again. Straight down the ground, that's coming towards us. Well taken.
Safe as houses from Ajantha. International cricketer, wasn't going to drop that. And a bit of a leading edge there. Almost 6, but caught right on the boundary. So Mr. Dwyer, he goes for
25 off
25 or 7. There you go, 25 or 17.
So yeah, just another couple of meters and that would have cleared the boundary. So he'll be disappointed with that, Brody. But he's got his team off to a decent start there, 25 off 17 balls. And now it'll be interesting to see who's coming out next for the Aussies. Who we got here? It looks to me like Nathan Tyrrell. Can only be one man, I think, there, and that certainly will be Nathan Tyrrell. And he normally opens the batting, goes hard. Very good strike rate, about 240 his strike rate.
Plenty of weight behind him, though. He must have had a good night last night. A few beers and a couple of burgers.
Surprisingly enough, he's a teetotal man, our Nathan Tyrrell. Bit of a mix in this Australian side between big bourbon drinkers and the teetotal guys, but it doesn't seem to have affected the team dynamic so far.
Either way, he's not going to die wondering, that's for sure. He's a big lad, and I have a feeling when he hits it, it stays hit.
Certainly does, and he's got an exceptional pull shot. Anything slightly short of a length, it's just onto it so quickly. So got ball first up after all our talk of the big hitting Nathan Tyrrell. Dot ball to start with. He was actually the world's #1 ranked batsman for 18 months, Nathan Tyrrell, up until late last year. So he's got a bit of a proven record behind him. And none off 2 balls to start with, so he'll be feeling the pressure, expectations of a nation on him. And just push that down to long off to get off the mark, where Ajantha Mendes does the fielding. It's another tight over there. So 2 overs, 1 wicket for 7 runs now from Dinawan Rajakaruna, also known as Maduranga. There's one of about 5 names for several of the Sri Lankan team, which I'd imagine, Nick, you'd know these Sri Lankan names a bit better than me, but luckily we've been given nicknames for all of them, so I'm going to be sticking to their nicknames.
Yeah, a little bit more familiar with some of them, having played over there this winter. Great country and some excellent cricketers. Mendes being one of them. International bowler, had a really bad injury over the last couple of years. Stress fracture and all sorts of things with his back, so never nice to see that from a good competitor. And I also played with him at Somerset when I played there. He was the overseas player many moons ago, 2011 I think.
So having a look at his bowling now, given that you know him so well, is it just a completely different way of bowling that he's had to remodel himself as?
It looks pretty similar, I have to say. He's not got I mean, it was surprising to hear he had a bad back operation, because he's not exactly a quick bowler. He bowls a bit of spin, flicks it out of his front of his hands. It's fantastic bowling, really is fantastic bowling. Great grip, great control, showing his real experience and class.
Pressure really building on Australia here. So the last 10 deliveries, there's been a wicket. Last 10 deliveries.
That's a 6er. He's hit that one out of the ground, and Srinivasan's looked dangerous. He's been waiting and sweating on one of those, but he's managed to whack that out the ground, and that's a much-needed 6 from Australia. Just falling behind the 8 ball a little bit, but he's come down the wicket and given it the complete kitchen sink. So finishes off a good over for the Australians, and gets them up to 51 now from 7 overs, tasting a 182. Big score from Sri Lanka. They're going to need to go some if they're going to chase this down.
That was crucial there. So that 6 there, to give you some idea of the pressure that was building, they'd only scored 3 runs in their previous 10 deliveries. So much needed 6 there from the Australians. And I just see on Facebook we have Chloe Bree Johnston watching. So big shout out to Chloe, the daughter of Anthony Johnston, who many of you will have known up until his sad passing earlier this year. So big shout out to Chloe who's watching there, and we hope that you're enjoying watching this and this tournament. AJ was a massive proponent of getting this tournament going, the ideas all around it, so he would have loved to have been here today and be in attendance. So right there to Chloe. So now the start of the 8th over. 51 for 1 the score, so Nathan Tyrrell, 2 off 6 balls. He'll know that he needs to go big. Yeah, now that's the real pressure on Nathan Tyrrell. It's adding up, and he had to go big there, and he was on 2 off 6 balls just prior to that, so he knew that the pressure was building, and he takes this cricket so seriously, Tiz does, so he'll be tremendously disappointed there. But as you can see, just pressure building, just went really hard. Lovely little ball there. So that's Nishantha Marashinra.
New batter in. He's got some colourful gloves. Let's hope his batting's as colourful as his gloves. And hopefully he's a bit better than the big.
So he's the man that you'd expect to launch from here, and Australia will need him to retire on 50 relatively soon. He'll be hoping in the next 4 overs.
Yeah, a lot of these games, people have asked where they play. A lot of Australians play on non-turf pitches, so it's difficult to come over and adapt that quickly. Particularly when you've got guys that have played a lot of first-class cricket in this Sri Lankan team, very up to date with conditions.
Absolutely, and we may see that throughout the tournament. A lot of the well, firstly, that's just a cracking shot there from young Jake O'Connell. 4 runs, 2 extra cover. Moves on to 9 off 3 balls, so obviously no nerves there for the young man.
Nothing like a good cover drive, just absolutely crunched through the offside. Down on one knee, and he's hardly run for that one. And he's been bowled. He's been bowled. Jake O'Connell, the big rap 16-year-old, one hasn't really bounced. He's got through it a bit early, and I have to say, Sri Lanka showing a lot of experience here, just taking pace off the ball, little few sliders, very slow, very difficult to hit, and it's going to be a tough order now for Australia, really behind the 8 ball. 62 for 2 or 3, I think it's 3 wickets now off 8 overs, so they're going to have to go some.
Absolutely, very clever bowling there, just slowing it down, a bit short of a length. Jake went hard towards the leg side, didn't pick the slower ball. But still, so the young lad goes, but there's no shortage of batsmen in this Australian lineup. They bat all the way down, so all the more importance now for Puri to make sure that he gets in the shed with a 50, having got the start and got his eye in. So Basna Yaka gets the wicket there. Clever bowling from him. Situation now 62 after 8.2 overs. Now this is the big one. Marcus North, 5 Test centuries to his name, coming in through Australia. Huge expectations for the ex-international here, and Australia really need him to deliver here on his LMS debut. Reaches hard for that, a single out to deep extra cover. Gets off the mark.
I'm going to make an early call here. This Sri Lankan team are going to be very hard to beat this week. Very hard, very wily characters.
We saw that at the World Championships in December. The Sri Lankan team that had Mendes in it, and one of the other players here today. They were Venora. They took out the title, the Last Man Stands World title in December. The Sri Lankan club team, and they were just a level above, so it'd be interesting to see if anyone can challenge them here this week. And as you said, Nick, the fact that they're so used to playing on turf, while pretty much all these Australians play 95% of their games on synthetic, that's a significant difference as well.
And that's a big shot. That's a 6. We could say a very much needed 6, but it's a good shot. It gets them going a little bit. Move on to, what is it, 71 for 3. And let's hope with the arrival of Test cricketer Marcus North that they can get a partnership going. But that's as good a slog sweep as you'll see. Down on one knee, launches it over square leg.
Great stuff there from Puri Srinivasan. So he knows now, judging by his last couple of shots, that he's got his eye in, and it's really up to him to kick off. He's now 34 off 18 deliveries, 3 4s and 2 6s. So he's going well, and boy do Australia need him to.
Bit of a discussion out here with the Sri Lankan players, just deciding who they're going to bowl. They've been quite canny. They've alternated the bowling very well, changed it up, not let the batsmen settle too much, which I think is key in this form of the game. You don't want to let anyone line you up, so you just keep changing it round and keep the batsmen guessing a little bit.
Absolutely, and that seems to be what they're so good at as well, just the variation in deliveries. So a bit of a delay here between overs. So one more over and then they'll switch ends. Last man stands, you bowl 10 overs from each end. Rattle through the overs that way. Solid shot from Marcus North there. Just the power behind that. Beautiful extra cover drive there.
Cracking shot from Marcus North, showing all his test quality. Yes, a bit of a half volley, but he's absolutely laced that through extra cover. Very stylish batsman when he gets going.
Indeed, he's a lovely batsman to watch. He's played for 6 counties around the UK, so he's well travelled around the UK. So you would have come across him quite a few times then, Nick, down the years, wouldn't you?
Yeah, played against him quite a bit. Yeah, very, very good player. 5 test centuries. Very, very good player to get that many, and then he played 21 tests, so yeah, some would say a little bit unlucky not to play a bit longer, but talking last night was quite interesting, just saying how, you know, no regrets, gave it absolutely everything as Aussies do.
Absolutely, he's fully embraced being a part of this tournament, just as you have, Nick, and it's great to see, and it's such a fantastic experience for all these other players to get the chance to come here, play such fantastic facilities, and play alongside former Test international stars. It's a brilliant experience for all the guys, none more so than young Jake O'Connell, coming in, just turned 17 now, and getting this opportunity is fantastic for the young man. Bowler seeming to feel the pressure a bit there with that full bunger, but he gets away with it, just a single. Out to deep square leg. That's a big wicket there, Puri.
He's out there, that's clean bowled. Srinivasan just didn't quite get going. 34 from 18, showed a bit of his class, but needed a bigger contribution from him. Again, playing across the line, and one's just stayed a little bit low. It seems to be the way that these Australians have got out today. The ball hasn't sat up. Maybe on those synthetic pitches, balls like that tend to just pop up a little bit more, but he's missed that one. It's hit off stump, and again, the slow, wily bowling here of the Sri Lankans, showing a lot of experience, taking pace off it, and it seems to be working.
Absolutely, that one just shorter of a length, and as you say, it's entirely that, just staying a bit lower on this turf wicket, rather than going across the line, which I'm sure Puri will be regretting now. He's a quality cricketer. So now that's the second wicket there for Nishantha. Now, who have we got coming in for Australia? This is the skipper, Sam Lang. So Sammy Lang, an absolute institution across LMS circles. He's been to World Championships before. He's played pretty much in every city in Australia. Very, very popular man. Big pressure on Sammy as well now. Coming in as the captain. 4 wickets down at the turn. Over 100 needed in the next 10. Massive moment in the game.
Yeah, you've got to give yourself a chance, though. I don't think any of these Australians have really given themselves a chance to get in. It's an old adage in cricket, of course, but particularly when the pitch has just got a bit drier, Sri Lankans are taking spin off. They've got a few spin bowlers. You can't just come in and, you know, drop the front knee and think you can hit everything for 6. You have to get yourself in, and I think Marcus North's experience here, he'll try and guide them as close as he can to the total, but they're going to need a couple of big overs to give themselves any chance.
Absolutely, and they have got big hitters still to come. Ziad Abbas, none more so than him, one of the biggest hitters in this tournament. but they've got to have a chance, as you say, so they really need a bit of a partnership here between North and Lang for Ziad to just come in and blast in the latter overs. That's quite a useful cricketer that just passed us there, Nick, for Pakistan. That will be playing later today, Abdul Razak.
Yeah, played with him at Middlesex. I was only a junior in the Middlesex ranks, but he was our overseas player. Fantastic cricketer. Anything he can't do. He bowls, he bats, good fielder, lovely athlete.
So there you go, good bowling there. Outside off stump. Sam going for the expansive cover drive through to the keeper, so none off 2 at the moment for Sam. And he does like to get going early, Sam, so he'll be feeling the pressure here.
Just got to give yourself a couple of balls, a couple of singles, a couple of 2s. Easier said than done because the run rate is creeping, but to think you can just come in here and wallop these Sri Lankans around is not going to be very easy. So you have to give yourself a bit of time. This wicket's just deteriorating a little bit now. Small run up from Mr. Nishantha.
That's well played from Sam Lang, so he'll get 2 out there down to backward point. Got to keep an eye on the required run rate here, Australia. Even in this format with the 8 fielders, as soon as it gets up over 10 and over, it starts becoming very difficult. So required run rate up to 10.6 now, so they've just got to keep that in check over the next couple of overs while they rebuild. Try and run a few more of those 2s. Wide outside off stump, so bit of respite there for the Aussies. I just think it's crucial now, Nick, that Marcus North just sticks around, just the experienced head, and bats with the tail, if you're going to call it that effectively, but they're all superb batsmen. Wide down the leg side, so that one's worth 3. So the second wide in the over in last man stands isn't re-bowled, but it's worth 3. So that's valuable runs there.
Yeah, you don't want to bowl too many of those. You get absolutely penalised, yeah. But tried to bowl a bit quicker there, didn't he? He's taking pace off. That one was a bit brisker. Good take from the keeper, diving down the leg side.
Outside off, so that's another 3 runs to Australia there. So that's now 7 runs in the 3 wides this over. So letting Australia a little bit off the hook here. Shot there from Sammy Lang, but it's straight out to the fielder in the deep. They won't be able to come back for 2, so it's a single there to end the over. 89 for 4 Australia after 11 overs. Thanks to Nick Compton for his commentary stint there.
See you back a bit later.
We look forward to seeing you playing soon. Bit of a disaster on exit with a coffee cup, but we'll get through that. So now the 2 big names in the Australia lineup, captain Sam Lang and ex-Australia international Marcus North. Hugely important for these 2 to rebuild. Get some sort of momentum going, just for the big hitting Aussies like Ziad Abbas down the order, just to come in and really give it a bit of a blast. No one hits it bigger than Ziad Abbas. Welcome back, Lee Dixon.
Thanks, Rob. Nothing like following a test cricketer in the commentary booth here.
I hear you're a fine cricketer yourself, Lee.
Not quite at Nick Compton's level, Rob, but thanks very much for the compliment. Very jealous of some of these lads being out there today. I'd love to be batting out there on this sort of surface today.
And we've almost lost the marquee over our heads there. Bit of a gusty wind, which won't help Australia because that's coming straight towards us, which is the direction that Australia are batting into. So harder to hit down the ground if that wind picks up a bit.
Quite surprised really with the way that Australia have gone about those first 10 overs, to be honest, Rob. Obviously the Sri Lankans have chose to come from and bowl into the wind first, which is obviously it's definitely going to come into it this week, you know, deciding which end you're going to start from.
So Bit lucky there from Marcus North, just got the leading edge, but it just fell in the gap. There's obviously a lot of gaps in last man stands, with there only being 8-a-side cricket, so you do get away with a few of those.
It seems to be that the Sri Lankans were a lot happier to manoeuvre the ball around, and I know obviously Nick mentioned the fact that some of the Australians' last man stand games are on artificial pitches, and obviously with artificial wickets you do tend to have it coming through a little bit truer. A few of these guys have got to adapt quickly and maybe look at trying to get forward just a fraction more in these English conditions rather than being able to sit on the back foot.
Absolutely, in full agreement. So you see, that was a great shot there from Marcus North. Just picked the gap down a fine leg. Lovely late sweep shot, and that's what we saw the Sri Lankan batsmen do so much of, Lee. Just clever shots into the gap. They knew where the gaps in the field were, and they targeted those gaps. Well, so far we haven't seen quite as much of that from the Aussies until Marcus's shot just then.
I felt a little bit sorry for the bowler there because he executed his plan brilliantly, and Marcus just walked across his stumps and just lapped him down past the vacant fine leg area. It showed a real bit of quality there, and you know, what I'd say is what we've seen from North so far is that, you know, when he seems to want to find that boundary, he's found it, you know, with ease so far. So hopefully Lang can work with Marcus here.
So now we're looking at a situation of 85 runs required for the last 8 overs. 5 ball overs in last man stands, just a reminder.
I think one thing that the Sri Lankans did very well in the first innings, they targeted 1 or 2 of the Australian fielders, and I think as the innings goes on, you know, it definitely becomes a little bit of a cardio activity, this last man stands, and you know, I think the Australians can definitely find some 2s.
Absolutely, 2 so important just to keep the pressure on the bowlers, but that's just a single down there to long off.
So how's the Australian boys prepared for this tournament, Rob?
Well, they all arrived in on Friday, and I think the first night they took advantage of not having a game yesterday, so by all accounts it was a relatively late night, but they kept themselves well in check last night. To bed early, up early this morning, at the ground 2 hours before the game, a long net session. They bonded well together as a team. So I think their preparations have been good. In terms of the lead up, a couple of the players have been overseas on holiday the last few weeks, so wouldn't have had that much cricket under their belt the last few weeks, but the rest of them would have been playing in the winter leagues back in Australia, which are ongoing.
Is that LMS or is that indoor cricket?
Yeah, last man stands, so they would have been playing last man stands, winter leagues. There's a bit of a mixture in the lineup. We've got 2 players from Wollongong, south of Sydney, 2 players from Sydney, 1 from down in Adelaide, some Queenslanders in the lineup as well, and a couple from down at Canberra as well, including the captain Sam Lang, who's on strike now.
No Tasmanians?
No Tasmanians.
Well, that's, for someone who's spent a couple of seasons over at the Riverside Blues, I know Oliver Law and Jack Williams here at Chester went over to the Blues. We would like to hopefully see if we can get some franchises open down there, because I know it's a very keen cricketing part of the world down in Tassie.
Absolutely, it would be fantastic to get a bit more LMS happening down in Tasmania. It's a wonderful part of Australia, a wonderful part of the world, in fact, on a beautiful island, and they've always been very successful at producing hard cricketers that have gone on to play for Australia.
No one better than Ricky Ponting.
Absolutely, Ricky Ponting, David Boone. So, situation rising here for Australia. 80 required from the last 7 overs now. It's another dot ball outside off stump, so we really need some fireworks to come from somewhere pretty soon.
North's just given himself a couple of balls here. Obviously 15 off 8 is a very, very good start, but it's been a very, very controlled start from North. I think he obviously wants to take this deep 4 wickets down. You know, there's no point go all guns blazing now. They're going to take it deep into this innings, and hopefully we could have a close finish.
Absolutely. North staying there is crucial. So he's on strike now, international to international. Mendes to North. Respect there, plays him out to through the covers for 4. That's a beautifully placed shot from Marcus North there. He didn't really seem to put much effort into that at all and absolutely raced to the boundary.
I think that, you know, it's a key thing for all the players who are playing in this tournament, just to observe and watch that some of the players today, you know, obviously in the first game and in this one as well, where people have been prepared to actually just play, you know, good cricket shots into gaps, time it. You know, there's a lot of value out there. It doesn't have to be, you know, crash and bash as such. And North's had 3 boundary 4s so far, and all of them have been well timed, you know, clever bits of cricket.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's what we saw so much from the Sri Lankan batsmen, just playing the ball into the gap. That's another beautiful shot there, down the ground, just fantastic timing.
I think we've just shown, that's just shown there where there's absolute full value for runs here today, because he played a lovely straight bat. I think he got maybe half of maybe the contact he wanted there, but he held his shape well, and it's just raced away in the gap there.
And he'll be very pleased with that, Sam Lang, because a bit of pressure building on him there. Some great bowling so far from the Sri Lankans here. Just one bowler who's gone for a bit of tap, Basna Yaka. All the other bowlers have kept it in check so far. And more so than Dinawan Rajakaruna, the opener who got 51 runs. He's been excellent so far. 3 overs, 1 for 16, and he's back on to bowl again now.
Good wrist from North as it just rolls it to backward of square and gets a single. Just keeps the strike rotating. One thing I've noticed in this partnership in the last couple of overs has been very few dot balls, and it's amazing how quickly the scoreboard just starts to tick along.
Yeah, so that's a big shot out there to the deep, but they'll just get the single for it.
I think this pair obviously can see that obviously Mendes has got 1 more over, so they're probably thinking, well, we've got to make the most of some of the other bowlers here, and that.
So that's a big wicket there. Crucial blow. Marcus North was looking excellent there. 21 off 11 before that delivery. And that's a hammer blow for
I think
Australia.
North's just tried to walk across the stumps there to create a bit of an angle. He didn't really leave, to be fair to Marcus North, he didn't really leave much room there to get that, you know, round the back of his pads, and he probably thought that was going to be a wide.
So that really swung back in. That looked like it was, you're in Marcus North's position there. You're thinking that's going almost a foot down the leg side when it was first delivered, and then swung back in and clipped his leg stump. So Rajakaruna, this is pretty well, it's definitely a match-winning performance from him at this stage. He opened the batting and got 51 off 37 balls. And now with the ball he's come out, and in his last over with 2 balls remaining, he's got figures of 2 for 18, which is unbelievable stuff in last man stands.
He's putting himself in a good position for player of the day though, Rob.
Absolutely. So, Marty Henderson in now.
He looks a busy player.
Very busy, urgent player, and these 2 guys, between the 2 of them, they've got over 25,000 runs in last man stand. So you can't buy much more experience than these 2 have at the crease, and that's certainly what Australia need in this situation with just over 5 overs to go.
Have Australia got the firepower left to be able to put together, you know, 4 or 5 overs of 10 and over?
They should do. These 2 are busy players, but Sam in particular, when he gets going, has got a huge shot on him. Marty Henderson as well always scores quickly, and then the big man Ziad Abbas is the next one in, and no one hits a ball bigger than Ziad. So I'm sure we'll see him come in at some point. So now we got Ajantha Mendes coming on to bowl his last over. 3 overs, none for 23 as it stands.
I think it's a very good time to bring him on, to be honest, because clearly Australia need to put the foot down here. And with the run rate rising, if he could just bowl 1 decent over for 5 or 6 runs maybe. It's going to send the run rate through the roof, I think.
Well, the run rate is almost through the roof. It's up to almost 14 and over required now, so we really need some fireworks here from Australia. Marty Henderson goes for that, straight down the ground. Is that going to clear the ropes? No, falls well short in the end. Come back for 2. So that shows the intent there from Marty. He knows that they've got to go big, and he's going to go up against the international and the vastly experienced Ajantha Mendis in doing so.
There's probably no better place to hit the ball there. I'm not saying for 1 second that Marty Henderson was picking that down to a third man, but there's definitely no field set for that sort of shot. He's gone wholehearted at the ball there, and the ball squirmed away down to third man.
Absolutely no better feeling in LMS than when you've got that thick nick that goes past the keeper and you know that no one's going to be there. So Mendis coming to the end of his spell here for Sri Lanka. Just down the ground, but that's just hold out to long on there. So Marty Henderson, he didn't have time to get his eye in. He had to go big fairly early. He'll be disappointed with that, but holds out to long on, which brings in the last Australian batsman now, which must be Ziad Abbas, if my maths are correct. So big responsibility on Ziad here. He is a big match player, but this is, even by his lofty standards, this is a very difficult situation to come into. Australia needing 59 runs from just 21 balls now.
It's obviously playing on such a big ground here on the turf. I'd imagine 59 off 21 on some of the AstroTurf wickets would feel never manageable, but maybe more manageable.
Absolutely, these guys would certainly think that there's a chance there, but it's just the quality of this opposition. You know that none of these Sri Lankans look like they're going to put down any potential catches. They're bowling cleverly. They're not giving much space to the Aussies at all, but Ziad, he's a very big man, and he, in the Aussie practice game yesterday, hit an extraordinary 6 that cleared the whole pavilion, bounced into houses on the full about 20 metres beyond the pavilion, so he signalled his intent there to the rest of the tournament. Just nudges it out on the offside.
And I think that's important. Look, at the end of the day, these are, you know, the last couple of players, you know, obviously this is going to be Australia's last chance to try and turn this game around. I think Abbas has got to give himself a couple of balls just to feel bat on ball before he has to, you know, explode into action and react to what's going on. Just looking down at the scorecard here, there's not really been anyone, maybe with an exception of Marcus North, 21 off 12. No one really has gone particularly hard. Everyone's got, you know, straight away around 130, 140.
Ziad's got big early there and got the nick through to the keeper, so he'll be disappointed with himself, Ziad. There was pressure on him to go early. He didn't give himself those 2 balls that you said, Lee, but just leaves Sam Lang as the last man standing now. So the captain standing solo, he'll bat on, so he can only run 2s or hit boundaries.
So in this situation now, obviously, you know, it's pretty obvious that he's got to score a big strike rate. Is he looking purely for boundaries here, or is he kind of looking, where can I get a 2?
Well, I'd feel a younger Sam Lang probably would have looked for a few more 2s, but I think current Sam Lang will be looking to do this in 4s and 6s, but he may well prove me wrong.
Well, that would have been an exceptional bit of cricket if we weren't playing last man stands, because I'm pretty sure that the guy would have been backing up out of his crease and that would have been a run out.
100%. That was disappointing for Sam Lang because he hit that beautifully straight, and that would have pierced the gap down there between long off and long on, so disappointing there for Sam, the Australian skipper.
I think he's missed out on 2 there.
Absolutely. Well, oh wow, what's happened there? That was just as we were talking up the Sri Lankan fielding, something disappointing there from long on, maybe a bit casual. Is that Ajantha Mendis? It is the former international. We're not quite sure what happened there. Hopefully we can see a replay.
It does quicken up down that bottom corner, but I don't think we can make much excuse for that. So.
Lang goes down the ground that time, but he's not going for these 2s. He's decided that he's saving his energy for the boundaries and 6s, which the amount of balls left is an interesting tactic. 27 off 20 now, Sam Lang.
Dexter comes in.
He's gone hard at that, and he's potentially picked the, well, he's obviously got some sort of cramp or something there, Sammy. But he's picked the gap nicely there, but he seems to be really struggling out there, which isn't what you want to see for a last man standing. So let's see what's going to happen here.
A couple of the sports staff from Australia out very, very quickly there.
Yeah, he looks really struggled there. That looked more like a hammy than cramp in that situation, but he seems to be standing fairly upright at the moment, which is a positive thing.
It's always tough though, you know, after a long flight as well. It takes a couple of days to acclimatise, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, as much as he's warmed up and stretched, you know, after a long stint in the field there, while captaining, he's, you know, putting his body under a little bit of pressure here. But you know, ultimately he's found the gap, and we keep going.
That's a wide, so that takes off a bit of pressure, and a couple of boundaries in quick succession there for Sam Lang, which is really what he needs, the Australian captain. He did well. He has told me many times in the past that he bats a lot better with a hangover, and he decided to go to bed early last night, so I'm not sure how that bodes for this innings today, but we'll see if that bucks the trend.
That's a beautiful bit of time in that.
Lovely stuff there from Sam Lang. Just ticks the gap beautifully there. Deep mid-wicket, so 3 boundaries there in quick succession for Sam. As I said, over 12,000 runs at an average of over 60, and a strike rate of over 250 for those runs. So when he gets going, he can really get going.
That was a fabulous bit of time in there. He stood up nice and tall. Bearing in mind that he's obviously just been down with it must be a cramp. And he's literally just stood up and he's just worked the ball beautifully through a wide mid-wicket position there.
He's gone hard at that again. He's going to go for the 2 now, Sammy, and he should be able to easily get this. Yep, we can jog back for 2 there. So that was in the gap there. It's important to pick up a few of those 2s because he's not going to be able to hit every boundary, every ball for a boundary. And looking at it now, it's 47 required from 13 balls, which is becoming incredibly difficult. So we need a 6 or 2 to come pretty soon. The umpire's given that wide, bit of a late call there, but fully justified.
I don't think the bowler was overly charmed with that. What I would say is that I do think that the length he was bowling there, I think that's probably the right thing to do now. At the end of the day, you've just said he needs a couple of 6s, so it's better coming into the wicket, making him hit to the big square of boundaries rather than letting him free his arms down the ground.
Absolutely. It's gone wide there again, and Sam Lang's chased that one, and he's not even going for that 2. Rightly so. So that's a dot ball there. Every dot ball now a real hammer blow for Australia.
Narrow one to just slow ball bouncer there, just really holding the ball deep in the hand, rolling his fingers across it into the surface. It just stuck in there. Sam Lang just couldn't get enough purchase on the ball.
Last ball in the over, and Sam again just bunts that down to long on. So that's another dot ball, which means that 44 runs are required off the last 2 overs, which is hard by anyone's standards.
Obviously we do have the beauty that if he hits that last ball for 6, it'll be worth 12.
And he has hit a few of those in his time, Sam Lang. He's got quite a knack for doing that. His reputation precedes him in that regard.
I'm sure he would definitely put himself in a position, well, he'd be trying to put himself in a position where he could, you know, he could at least have a dip that last ball and potentially win the game. It's a big ask though.
It's gone hard there, but that's straight out to the deep mid-wicket, so that's a dot ball, which is disappointing. And he's got to run 2 runs, so...
Do you not think out there, Rob, that it's at this point where really he should be trying to get there and back?
I personally think he should, but he's the captain of the team, so anyway, we may be having a chat with him afterwards and talking about maybe some fitness training for this Australian side, but if he keeps on hitting the boundaries and 6s, I did play a game with Sam a few months ago where he hit every ball in an over for 6, so he's got that. He's got the head to do that. He's been very, very unlucky again. He's just smoked the ball down the ground and it's crashed into the stumps again, so he's probably had 8 runs that have been stopped by the stumps at the bowler's end. Absolutely, it's so difficult as this last man standing here with all the field spread, knowing that the batsman has to run 2. Well, he's going for the 2 there. Now this could be the end of the game here if it's a good pick up and throw, but it looks like Sam should just make it back, so Lang does make it back. So he tested a Jantha Mendes there at long on and came out on top, but he really did need to run the 2 there. So that's now 42 runs needed from 6 balls. So it's getting almost mathematically impossible. So this is a big ball. He's hit that hard. Good shot there from Sam Lang. Boundary, just to give him a slight chance here for the last over.
That last couple of overs from Boughton, I think maybe the killer blow for Australia, because it was looking very much so that they were going to be chasing about 165, 160, and then just those last couple of overs made it, a much stiffer total.
You're absolutely right there. Just the quick runs at the end, 46 off 22 balls, 4 boundaries and 2 maximums for Besnayeka. It's another dot ball there, so inevitably this match now beginning to peter out a bit. Australia falling well short, but they'll learn from this. They will have looked at these Sri Lankans. There's a lot of talent in this Aussie side, but just the way that Sri Lanka have played this game, they've fully justified their tag as tournament favourites. Just so much variation, so much urgency, and just talent throughout the side.
That's a lovely shot down the ground. I actually feel for the skipper here, Lang, he's been left with an absolute mammoth task, and he's trying his absolute best here to keep the game going and try and get Australia as quick as possible, as close as possible, sorry.
It's actually, you're completely right, it's actually been an exceptional innings from Sam Lang, because if you add up the amount of dot balls that he's had, that would have been singles otherwise if he was batting with someone else. He's on 47 off 34 balls now, so add up those and then add up the 2 hits that you said into the stumps. This really would have been a remarkable innings for him. But just a mountain to climb as last man standing.
I do think a few of his colleagues can definitely look at the way that Lang's moved his feet in this innings. He's definitely adapted far better. He's tried to move his front foot forward towards the ball, far more suited to English conditions. It's very, very tough, because obviously when you go the other way in Australia as an English player, you tend to struggle the other way. You're on the front foot and you're getting peppered, as I've found out in the past.
It's true, they do like to put it in short down there in Australia. So this is the last ball of the match coming up now, and Sammy disappointed with that. The last 2 balls have been dots, and he's on 47, so you'd dearly like a 50 to get his confidence up for the rest of the tournament. Missed out on those last 2, so you'll be looking for a boundary here at least for and it would be a well-deserved 50 for the Aussie skipper if he can manage this. Wide run helps, and the wides go to the batsman, so that takes him up to 48. So that helps him in his.
So I'm right in saying here, if he pops this one over the fence, he'll end up on 59.
Absolutely. So if you hit the last ball of a last man stands innings for 6, scored a home run, which is doubled, worth 12. So 4 is still 4, it's just the 6 that's doubled. And the last ball from an exceptional Sri Lankan performance. Sam Lang's gone big. He's decided not to go for the 2, which is interesting, because that could have brought up his 50, but good effort by Sam Lang there. Finishes up stranded on 48 off 37 balls as the last man. Great performance there from Sri Lanka. Dominant display, going out to bat first. As he said, Lee, the late hitting there of Basnayaka was crucial, 46 off 22, but all of the Sri Lankan top 4 just contributing quick runs, clever runs, placing it into the gap, setting a target of 183 to win, which was always going to be a real hard chase.
It's great to see a couple of the Sri Lankan fans have just ran onto the field there with the flag, obviously extremely excited to get this first win on the board. I think it obviously shows as well just how much it means to some of the people around the ground as well. Obviously I know Marcus North mentioned it was his opportunity to play in a World Cup after not getting the chance when playing for Australia, so that was in the opening ceremony last night, and I know that went down very well with a number of people. He also he was down in the nets with a few of the juniors from Chester Boughton Hall as well before the game, which was a really lovely touch. Mentioning that we've got a young lad called Liam Yakandora, who's only 9, and he was commenting on technique there, and I know Liam and his dad were absolutely delighted by that. So it just shows how much just having some of these marquee players can have an impact, not just on the teams that are involved, but the people who come down to support and watch as well.
Absolutely, it's a tremendous opportunity for all these guys to interact with these former Test heroes. So if we look at the summary scorecard there, convincing win for Sri Lanka against Australia in one of the marquee early games of this tournament. Sri Lanka setting out their stall and fully justifying their tag as pre-tournament favourites. Brilliant all-round game there from Raja Karuna. 51 off 37 balls, followed up with 4 overs, 2 for 21. Brilliant display from him. Basma Yaka with quick late runs, 46 off 22. Solid all-round display from Ajantha Mendis as well, 39 with the bat, 4 overs, 1 for 30 for the former international. The Aussies, Marcus North took a wicket with his first delivery in last man stands cricket, but then got a slight bit of tap in the remainder of his overs. He looked good with the bat before he was bowled around his legs. Purya Sutherman Srinivasan, higher scorer for Australia, 34 off 19. He would have been looking to go on and hit 50, and Australia really needed that, but not too much else with the Australian innings to write home about, so they're going to have to learn quickly from this performance.
I really hope that you're covering all the Sri Lankan games, Rob, because your ability to pronounce all the names is just quite phenomenal. I'm very jealous.
Well, I'm glad that before the game a couple of the nice Sri Lankan team lads did give me nicknames for themselves, so that has made it a little bit easier. There's one name on here that's really quite extraordinary, 6 names in one name, which I'm not going to make any attempt to pronounce, but we're calling him Nwantha for this tournament. So Nwantha, thanks for that.
And we are literally minutes away now from the main game of the day today, and I'm sure the numbers on Facebook Live will go through the roof when India take on Pakistan. What are your thoughts on that game?
Oh, it's a massive game here. India, Pakistan. Any cricket fan in the world would just salivate at the idea of any game involving those two sides. Don't see enough of it really these days. But especially here at the amateur level, this will be really interesting, because for these guys it will mean so much, and I can't imagine there's that many opportunities for any of them to have been involved in a game like that.
Well, I've been over to the pavilion when we had Nick Compton on commentary, just taking in some of the atmosphere, and there's so many Pakistani and Indian supporters already here, and we've seen both the teams down in the nets hours before the game here. There must be a lot of nervous energy there. I'd like to think some of the experienced players on both sides are trying their best to settle the nerves, but I'm sure there's a lot of people over in both countries watching very closely and hoping their side can get over the line.
Absolutely, and I mean, just imagine being one of those Pakistani players and knowing that you've got Abdul Razak, the former legend, well, in short format cricket for sure for Pakistan, in your lineup. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes this tournament. You would have thought that last man stands cricket is just made for him.
Okay, Rob, we're going to go across to the interview. Thanks for your input on that game. It was fantastic. And we're going to go across to Nick Compton.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm here with man of the moment, Ajantha Mendis, who's had a fantastic game and got his Sri Lankan team over the line. Ajantha, you must be really chuffed with that first game of the series.
Yeah, actually, our team is playing very well, because we think Australia give a very good team. They have a very good legend, and I think our batsman is scoring a very good score, but bowling something first 10 overs we bowl very well, and that's why we won.
It seemed like an obvious tactic to just take a little bit of pace off the ball. Was that something you discussed at the halfway stage?
Yeah, actually, Wicket is a little bit slow. If slow balls, not easy to bat. I think that's why we're planning and we bowl.
And mate, when I played with you at Somerset, you were of course a bowler there, but today just wielding the bat, hitting some big blows there.
I think we have to do something, bro. I'm not bowling the last 2 years, and I try to my batting.
Oh, well done, man. Well played. Well done to Sri Lanka. I've got Australian legend who's going to come and slip in here. Well done, Ajantha. Good to see you. Northie, well done there, mate. Nice to get your LMS debut out the way.
Yeah, at least I didn't get a first ball or anything like that, so it was nice to get a few. Shame about the result. I think, if we're being honest, we probably let ourselves down in the field a little bit. We probably gave them 15, 20 runs, which on a wicket that's kind of drying and wearing, and the Sri Lankans know how to take that pace off the ball. It was, you know, at the end result, it's where we fell short.
Yeah, they showed a bit of experience. You could kind of see that, and it almost helps that they came into bowl in the second half, and you guys didn't really get that opportunity. You got some good youngsters in the team, though. One of the, Mr. O'Connor, I think it is. You know, he's 17 years old, bowled quite quick.
Yeah, he's a real good talent. Can bat as well. I believe he's in the pathway system in New South Wales cricket, so it's great to see and play with some young kids like that. But you know, we look like a pretty organised team. The guys are pretty disappointed. You know, it was a match that every match they expect to win. You know, I think that they kind of back their ability, and probably have a bit of a debrief now and make sure that we, you know, field a little bit better tomorrow and have a bit of better game plan and execution, and you know, hopefully we can get a first win.
And maybe get yourself up the order a bit more as well.
Yeah, no, I was sliding down.
Nice cover drive, though, wasn't it? Eh?
It's like last night, man. Not really too many shots going over 6, but it was nice to get a couple away. But yeah, I think as a group we just need to maybe have a better start and take a bit more ownership. You know, a lot of guys got some starts, but then really kind of go on and finish the game off.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to get tougher as the day goes on, but great to see Marcus North in the runs and having got his debut. Well done to Sri Lanka, who won that game against Australia.